FedEx full, we commanding the block. Burgundy and gold, got the city on lock. Hustling plays, they don't need to pretend. DC reppin' strong and we fight to the end. Commanders moving, no breaks, no pause. Hands in the dirt, respecting the call. K-Dot in the mid, dissect the grind. District divided with city in mind. Trying to damn squad, don't miss a bit. And you gotta spread the words, or shit is shit. K-Dot.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. And before we begin this episode, which is going to be the Week 5 preview, the 3-1 Commanders back at home against the 1-3 Cleveland Browns. Indulge me for a moment, District Divided family. Just wanted to take a quick minute because on the day of this recording, exactly 1 year ago today, I had a dog named Barkley, who is right there. Thank you, K-Dot. And unfortunately had to put him down last year on this day. And so I just wanted to take a quick 15, 20 seconds to remember him and to thank him for all the contributions he made to my life. He was an absolutely awesome dog, only 3 years old, very tragic, but learned a lot from the guy, and he is just the best. So if you have a pet, a loved one, whatever, just give him an extra hug today. Just tell him you love him, etc. So thank you, K-Dot. Really appreciate that. And Barkley, I love you, buddy, wherever you are. So cool. On that note, we do have a football game that we are going to be previewing over here. So before we begin this episode, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do. And K-Dot,
have you picked up your Gibbs Bible yet?
it's on the way.
It's on the way.
It's on the way.
Well, until you do, I still got to preach the word. So if everybody, just for a moment, I tell you guys to bow your heads, but it's okay. You can watch. Just got to get in the mode. And I have, this is from the book of Doug, chapter 87, verse 22. And shepherds we shall be for me, K-Dot Amit, and Coach Gibbs for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand, that our voices may swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow a river forth to thee to share this shit far and wide for all those to see. In nomine, DC, et det K-Dot, et Atmetus, et Spiritus Burgundi, Commander non dividus. The whole bit. There you go. So, basically, share this shit. Don't get spited.
Share this shit and don't get smited. We greatly appreciate you guys. And why don't we go ahead and jump into it? The Gibbs Bible is must own at this point. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. And shout out Jayden for his position in that graphic. So let's go ahead and get
the movie reference.
What'd you say?
Did you get the movie reference?
No, probably not.
All right, no worries. I'll see if somebody in the comments.
Oh, someone in the comments will definitely get it. But anyway, why don't we go ahead and get into it? So again, we are playing the 1-3 Cleveland Browns. We host them. This was a team that had decent degree of expectations considering they were a playoff team last season, but a lot of it hinged on Deshaun Watson. And so far, not that good. And so before we begin with the Commanders offense against the Browns defense, we need to preface with the context as we always do. So we're going to go ahead and look at the injury report for both teams. Doesn't matter which one you choose here, K-Dot. Here we are with the Commanders, where Nick Allegretti initially didn't practice, now limited. Noah Brown from limited to did not practice. That's going to be the one to monitor. Whenever you go limited to do not practice, that's something you want to watch for. The big one, I'm just going to skip all the way to the bottom because we got a lot of fulls over there. Brian Robinson has not practiced for the last couple days. And so that's definitely one we're looking out for. Of course, we missed Austin Ekeler last week, who you can see on this injury report seems to be on track to play this week. So it could be Ekeler and McNichols with no Brian Robinson, but we'll see. Cleveland Farrell, the other big name there, moved up to limited in practice on Thursday. Now, why don't we go ahead and look at the Cleveland Browns? And so you've got Nick Chubb, who is limited. I will say this. I do not expect him to play. And kid,
he ain't coming back.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those situations where he needs to be fully practicing, and that's for a week, maybe even 2, before he comes back. And other than that, they've got some other guys that have not practiced the past couple of days. You got, let's see who all we got here. We got Hicks, we got Hudson, we got Njoku, David Njoku. And Wright, is he even a starter? I don't even think he is. But yeah, he's the backup, Alex Wright. And so that is the extent of the injury report there. A ton of limiteds, a ton of Foles, and a couple did not practice. So we'll see what ends up happening moving forward. Go ahead, K-Dot.
Yeah, I'll bring something up on the Browns report if you look at it.
Yeah.
If you notice, all 4 of the tackles that they have playing time this year are all hurt. So is their starting center. They are banged up to shit. Just want to make sure I point that out.
That is brutal. I was looking at our lads just to see the starters, and seeing all their names on the injury report was like, oh, interesting. Now a lot of them are limited, so I'm like, okay, I don't put too much stock, but they're still hurt. They're still carrying something into the game.
They haven't done a good job anyway this year.
Regardless. It's important to note, so appreciate that. And so why don't we go ahead, and we always start with Jayden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, and this Commanders offense against the Cleveland Browns defense. Now, last year, the Cleveland Browns defense was absolutely spectacular. And as of right now, based on yards per game, they're 11th. So they're still good, but they're not what they were last year, at least so far. So, K-Dot, for this matchup, what are you looking for, and how would you attack Myles Garrett and this crew?
Run the ball! All right. But yeah, as you said, look, they're ranked 11th, which means that they're the best defense that this team has faced so far, period. Now, even if we weren't looking at the rankings and just looking at talent of defense, this is the best defense the Washington Commanders have come up against, period.
Absolutely.
They definitely have some issues as far as things they've done over the course of the season. But as far as the defense done, they've done a pretty good job as far as just if you look at the as far as pass defense. You see, like, even last week, they held Gardner Minshew to 130 yards passing. Those are damn good numbers as far as that goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just, I mean, it's just, you got to speak to the talent. Everybody knows Myles Garrett. You saw like 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles so far this year. Zadarius Smith, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Delvin Tomlinson, who's more of the run stuffer, but he's in the middle. These dudes got ballers. You talk about a defense that was arguably, I mean, not even arguably, they were the best defense in the league last year. And it's not like they had a whole bunch of people missing or anything from last year going into this year. It's just that it hasn't necessarily clicked all the way through. And a lot of what you're seeing on defense as far as some of their issues, you could probably look at the fact that their offense is not playing complementary at all to what it is they need to do as far as from a defense standpoint. So do not overlook these guys on the Browns defense. Not at all. The one thing that you see as far as from a room standpoint, which is what I go to even going back to the Cardinals game, is you can run the ball on them. You look at their run defense, even with the Dalvin Tomlinson, they allowed 152 yards and 2 touchdowns to Vegas last week. The Raiders rushing attack is ranked 24th in the league, and they were able to manage that. We're 3rd as far as from a defense, from an offensive rushing standpoint. So I think that is something that you have to go to, and you have to go to throughout the game. I think running the ball is going to be the identity of this team and the recipe for the most success that you're going to have up against them. As a matter of fact,
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. Please continue.
So God damn this stupid camera and this fucking autofocus. Whatever. You're going to see me. You're not going to see me at certain points in this fucking pod. But we're going to key advantages that I've been getting off the NFL, what is it, the Pro Plus bullshit thing that I pay for?
Yeah, nice.
And you can see, you remember last week, there were a lot of 5 stars for the Cardinals at certain points. But look at us. And you notice something? Rushing. Design runs. I think it's trying to tell us something.
I think it is.
I think it's really trying to tell us something. So, like, as far as from a pass defensive standpoint, you just don't want to give them the opportunities to necessarily cause disruption for us. That's not meaning to say that I don't want to see Jayden drop back and fucking pass the ball, but I just don't think it's the proper recipe for what it is we want to do. Not to mention, running the ball is still the best way to keep a defense that we're going to talk about in a minute, that even though they had their one good game, you still want to do everything you possibly can do to put the tide in their favor, right?
Right.
These dudes, this is a Jim Schwartz defense that they love blitzing and they love coming after you. And they got the dudes that could do it. I will say Myles Garrett has not necessarily been healthy all season. The last 2 games, he's played like 50% of the defensive snaps, which is like, But he's like, I don't even think he was on the injury report. Was he on the injury report? I don't think so. But there's like, but everybody knows he's dealing with like several things at the same time, but it's just like, it's not enough for him to say, okay, well, I'm not going to play or anything. He's still going to play, but he's a bit limited in what he's able to do compared to like last year or the year before. I will say that I collected a few fun facts about this matchup.
Please do. Go ahead.
So one fun fact, the Browns defense is converted on a league low 83.1 of tackling opportunities this season. The Commanders' skill players have a forced missed tackle on 24.1% of their combined touches this season, the 5th highest in the NFL.
Oh,
See where those 5 stars are coming from?
beginning to
Run the ball, which is where you look at that Brian Robinson injury designation. You're like, well, you kind of wish we make sure that we have our full complement of running backs, but regardless, you want to make sure you run the fucking football. I have another fun fact, but I'll call it a less fun fact. Myles Garrett has generated 16 quick pressures this season under 2.5 seconds. 5
under 2.5 seconds.
5 more than the next closest players, Nick Bosa and Keon White.
Ooh. So he's still Myles Garrett.
He's Myles Garrett. So once again, not necessarily the most fun fact. I call it a less fun fact, but it is what it is. And then also when we're talking about like that recipe as far as running the football and not necessarily passing, because once again, they love blitzing. The Browns have blitzed on a league high 47.8% of dropbacks on second down, which is what's important after we talked about the all-22. One thing that Washington did an amazing job of, especially in the Cardinals game, was to get in a position on second down where we didn't have to go very far, right? You see that they do everything they possibly can on that first down to get 5 or 6 yards to make sure they're setting themselves up for a second and short sort of situation.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be the recipe for this game. Because on second down, if you're second down and long and you need to throw the ball, they are coming the fuck after you.
Yeah.
And they're coming for you big time. The Browns have allowed the 8th fewest yards per attempt on all downs when blitzing in 2024. So as much as people might be like, oh, this Browns team kind of sucks, still something that you got to fucking look out for. And when you also talk about that's something that kind of skews in our territory as far as the running attack, we talk about Jayden Daniels. The Browns have also allowed a league high 11.6 yards per rush to quarterback scrambles this season. So I think that's one of those things that we're looking at when it comes to running the ball and run the ball in all forms. You got to do it. And when you think about a team that's blitzing at the rate that they blitz, you talk about a lot of man coverage. When you talk about a lot of man coverage, you talk about a lot of guys with their backs to the quarterback, which allows a lot of daylight. If you can get beyond that blitz, Jayden Daniels can fucking kill him with his feet. So I'm just saying, we got to be aware of all aspects of the game. Run the fucking football. Run it.
Now, this past week, I will say that it was a bit skewed because they had DJ Turner, the Vegas Raiders did, run for an 18-yard touchdown and a sweep. Also a sort of fun fact for you, K-Dot. Every team the Browns have gone against have had a wide receiver carry the ball. Kind of weird, 4 weeks in that they've had that, when we've only had one do it, and it was Cameron Johnson in the first game. They got 0 yards, and I guess every OC after that was like, okay, yeah, we could just run with our running backs. It's totally fine against this Commanders defense. But that is something that just must be noted. And believe it or not, it was Trevor Lawrence who had the most yardage for a quarterback rushing, 2 carries for 45 yards. Daniel Jones, who, can be elusive and can be quick, 8 carries for 20 yards. So I think they're going to be aware of Jayden, but to K-Dot's point, running the ball is the way to go. Devin Singletary averaged 4.1 yards a pop. Tyrone Tracy, 4.6 yards a pop for New York. So they continued pounding it, and that's how they ended up beating the Cleveland Browns when they played them. So that's just important to note. And then on the passing side of things, K-Dot, how many passing touchdowns does Jayden Daniels have this season?
I don't even know off the top of my head.
I believe it's 3. Because we got the 1 to Trent Scott. We got 2 to Terry.
Yep.
Right. And then we got 4 rushing touchdowns. The Browns have allowed 3 passing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns all year. So they're good at that part. Okay. So it's just even more important that we run the ball this game in particular, because they have faith in their pass defense and they're good at it. And they were good at it last season as well. Mm-hmm. So when you can run and soften them up, and we trust Cliff here to do it because so far he's been masterful, it just opens everything up once again. Any final thoughts over here before we move on to the other side of the ball?
Yeah, man. I just look, when it comes to Jayden, one of the things that we've commended him on is his ability and his decision making, and his want to keep looking downfield as far as what he does. As far as in pass one-on passing downs, he's clearly still looking down the field trying to make the play, which is good. The thing is that if you're looking at from a blitz percentage standpoint of the last 2 games compared to this game, it's going to be night and day. The Bengals blitz 23% of the time. The Cards blitz barely 20%. I think it was 16% against us. These guys might double that. So, This is going to be a major test as far as Jayden Daniels in this offense. Once again, he's sort of broken everything and every test sort of come his way. But it's going to be really interesting to see how it is they deal with adversity, or if things don't necessarily go their way, what Cliff looks to change things up to get stuff moving. But if they've got to run the ball. And I think that if we're not able to run the ball at a good clip, it could be a long day.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's Jayden's breakout day. 4 touchdowns, 500 yards.
Could be. Because, yeah, I mean, Jayden so far has been excellent. Does he continue to progress? That's going to be something we're obviously looking out for. That's the most important thing this season. I will also say, again, just looking at that absolutely bizarre stat, at least in my opinion, that you've played 4 games and all 4 of those teams have used wide receivers to run the ball on you on sweeps and stuff like that. Maybe look out for Olamide Zaccheaus or De'Ami Brown to get 1 or 2 of those and see if we can access that perimeter if the interior is tough to go through. But K-Dot also mentioned they miss a lot of tackles, and we've been forcing missed tackles. So let's see if that trend continues. Why don't we go ahead and flip the script? Let's talk about this Commanders defense that once again had a bit of a breakout game. I would call it a breakout game last week against the Arizona Cardinals, holding them to just 14 points. And again, Kyler Murray to just 145 total yards, just 3 rushing yards, when he had been averaging about 50 or 60 a game up until that point. So on this side of the ball, K-Dot, Deshaun Watson is the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. They've got Jerome Ford in place of Nick Chubb. And so those are their primary pieces. Of course, they got Amari Cooper on one side, Jeudy on the other. What is the best way to be able to slow down a Browns offense that honestly has slowed themselves down so far, but still have some pieces that can hurt you?
Stop the run and hit the fuck out of Deshaun Watson. Maybe that's your combo. How you get there. So, like, from a rushing attack standpoint, like you even see the Jerome Ford game last week, 10 carries, 58 yards, 5.8 yards a pop. But then if you take into consideration, there was also a 35-yard run within that 58 yards. So the rest of the numbers after that
9 carries, 23.
There you go. So not great. But the thing is with Cleveland going back years now, even when Nick Chubb was healthy, this is a team that doesn't want to run the football, even though they are built to do that exact thing. Kevin Stefanski and Ken Dorsey, who was the pass game coordinator for Buffalo before that, and you knew they loved to fucking throw the football. They loved to just throw the goddamn ball. I will say Deshaun over the course of this season has looked better. I think that it's one of those things where, like, initially, as soon as I saw that you got the Browns and we had to watch the All-22, I'm like, all right, well, in my opinion, Deshaun Watson sucks ass. There's going to be nothing that I can really see from this. It's not going to fucking matter. But then you start looking and it's like, all right, they're not great by any means. The offensive line, as you said, banged up. They're not doing a great job as far as protecting him. Deshaun's not doing a great job protecting himself. He's the leader in sacks right now at 19. 3, 8, 2, and 6 as far as the game sack numbers, which is nuts. He's also yet to throw 200 yards in a game this year, right? So it's like, all right, well, what do you mean? How could he have been playing good? You look at some other things that happened in that game last week. Amari Cooper had 2 drops. They had an 83-yard touchdown and got called back with a penalty.
Phantom holding too, from what I saw. Yeah.
So it's like if Amari catches those 2 balls and they don't get the flag on that, those passing numbers look vastly different. You might have even said that last week could have been the Deshaun Watson breakout game, or at least letting people know, hey, he doesn't completely suck. They might have something there. So this is one of those things where, like, they're forcibly saying, hey, we're not a running attack team. We're going to be passing the goddamn football. And Deshaun might be answering it. I still don't, like, outside of this game, I don't have a lot of faith in Deshaun Watson. I don't see a lot of quarterbacks that go from being good to sucking to being good again. I just don't see it. So my long-term prospects for Deshaun are not great. But whether or not Deshaun can have a get-right game against us, very much up in the air. We had one fairly decent defensive performance, especially through the air against Arizona last week. But one thing these guys have, or a couple things that these guys have that Arizona does not necessarily have, Arizona had Marvin Harrison Jr. Looked great, but he is a rookie. Amari Cooper loves to fuck us up. All right? Going back to his days in Dallas, he loves to fuck us up. Jerry Jeudy, very talented receiver. When he can stay healthy, he's out there and he's fucking balling. You got 2 guys that can take the lid off a goddamn defense if you're not doing what it is you need to be doing. Think about that 83-yard touchdown. They were in position to have an 83-yard touchdown. This is a team that could absolutely beat you and burn you deep. I was reminded about Deshaun Watson's last game against Commanders. And I know it was a very different team, right? But you think about his numbers last time. He went 9 of 18 for 169 yards, but then 3 tutties. So it's like that's a stat line that doesn't look great. Nobody's calling him a fucking Pro Bowler, but that'll beat you. That'll fucking beat you. It'll beat you badly, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's just this is just it's one of those things where it's like they've got to play sound defense. They have to make sure that they're pressuring Deshaun Watson. And if for some reason Cleveland gets off to a good start running the football against us with Jerome Ford, maybe you have a guy like Stefanski that says, hey, look, I got to take advantage of what it is I'm taking advantage of, and then they run the ball down our fucking throats. We can't afford to let them do that shit.
And there would be good reason for it, K-Dot, if I may. I'm going to now read you the yards per attempt by player since week 1. So Bucky Irving had 6.9 yards a pop, 9 carries, 62 yards. Rashad White, we did a good job on, 15 carries, 31 yards. Great. That's good. After that, Devin Singletary, 16 carries, 95 yards, 5.9 yards a pop. Then we look at the Bengals. Chase Brown, 7 carries, 62 yards, 8.9 yards a carry. Then you got Zach Moss, 12 carries, 58 yards, 4.8 yards a carry. And then this past week against Arizona, you and I both said that, hey, maybe we did a slightly better job looking at the all 22, but here were the numbers, okay? James Conner, 18 carries, 104 yards, 5.8 yards per carry. Amari DeMercado, 4 carries, 24 yards, 6 yards per carry. And Trey Benson, 9 carries, 50 yards, 5.6 yards per carry. We have to prove we can stop this run. Have to, because I think we're going against a team that is willing to commit to it. This is a team that went to the playoffs last year and has playoff experience now. So these guys know what it takes to win. They're not used to being 1-3, at least not with this group of coaches and stuff like that. So like this is a desperate Cleveland Browns team that needs a win. They probably saw this early on and circled it as a win and are going, we need to do whatever it takes to beat this Commanders team. So I think we're seeing a lot of them, and we need to prove we can stop the run, because if we get behind in this game, well, then do we abandon the run, and do we start getting into, hey, we're throwing on a good pass defense? So this is, I'm not even going to call it a trap game. This is a good game. Like, this is going to be an interesting game over here. So any final thoughts, K-Dot, before we move to
a couple fun facts, or at least you tell me if they're fun. Sure. Deshaun Watson is facing unblocked pressure on 11% of his dropbacks this season, 4th highest rate in the NFL. The Commanders' defense, on the other hand, has generated unblocked pressure on a league low 3% of their dropbacks this season.
3%.
3%.
Oh.
So this is one of those things where, look, like I said, philosophically, Cleveland's not going to be one to run the football. They just don't do that. I wouldn't anticipate it. If that's the case, then that defensive line, who had a damn good performance against Arizona, has to step the fuck up. Deshaun has been doing a really good job the last couple weeks as far as some of the stuff that we've been giving Jayden credit for. Moving around the pocket, looking downfield to make the throw. If the coverage, if the pressure doesn't get there, and you have a secondary that's still trying to find their bearings as far as from a pass defense standpoint, with guys as talented as Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy, if you give Deshaun too much time back there, he's going to kill you. He's going to fucking kill you. So, you have to finish the fucking plays against Deshaun Watson. Also, another last fun fact.
I love this.
Benjamin St. Juste has allowed 19 receptions for 244 yards and 3 touchdowns this season, resulting in a plus 15.9 target EPA allowed, the 3rd most of any defender in the league. On the other side of the field, Mike Sanders still has allowed opposing quarterbacks to accumulate plus 13.2 target EPA, 8th most in the league. Like I said, finish the fucking pressure.
We need it.
If you let that fucker do his Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones bullshit and moving around and buy some time, it was Baker Mayfield did to us week 1, where pressure's just almost there, and then something would hey, fucking just take it.
And it not only is evading the pressure good on the play itself, it breaks you as a defense, right? That you can't get to the guy. And you lose self-confidence even in the game. Like, the rhythm all of a sudden goes to the other guys. So it's so important to finish. And we're going against a veteran wide receiver room here. And when we look at Tampa, this isn't Tampa, just to be clear, in terms of Baker's playing at an unreal level right now. No. But I mean, that's a veteran receiver core. Joe Burrow lit us up. That's a veteran receiver core. What we went against last week, I was thinking about this after K-Dot. Marvin Harrison's excellent. He's also a rookie. And the rest of the wide receivers, very, very young in Arizona. And so I think we were able to make some plays because of that. With the Giants, Malik Neighbors has already looked fantastic, but the rest of the crew didn't look that good because they're pretty young and stuff like that. So like
Neighbors is still a rookie. So
yeah, and Neighbors still a rookie, but Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy, to me, that's serious company. So we got to be careful.
That's serious. And the thing was that what I gave credit to as far as the defense against Kyler Murray is that we were disguising some things in the defense that you could see absolutely confused Kyler Murray. Deshaun's a vet. Deshaun's had damn near MVP caliber, or had at least one MVP caliber season. He's not going to be fooled by this shit. It's just his execution has just not been on point, but it could always get higher up there. I did forget to go to the key advantages thing. I just want to see how many stars this matchup looks like, right?
Oh, all interesting. Right. Okay. We won one.
We did. So versus play action.
Stars there on the passing. The rushing, of course, favors them. Okay. And quick passing.
So quick passing versus no play action. So, like I said, we got a shot at this. It's just the defense has to fucking finish.
Has to finish. Any final thoughts before we go to the prediction here?
Look, it's very, very. You know what? I'll do this. Go back to this for a second.
Nice.
It's very, very. Washington's experiencing something very, very new, right? In the sense of like we're playing at home after you spent the last couple of weeks away from everybody, away from the media, kind of being insulated by yourselves, right? And now. Sorry, I was about to call it FedEx. Northwest, the Fed is the press box is going to be fucking full, more full than typical. The press conference is going to have a lot more national reporters than typical. Okay, this is going to be one of these games where it's like when everybody starts blowing smoke up your ass about how good you are. How do you respond to that? Do you start feeling yourself a little too much? Like this goes back to like what the coaching has always been, the philosophy of Dan Quinn, or the type of guy that we like what it means to be a commander sort of thing, right? Which is like play as a unit, play together, do all this kind of shit. I'm really curious what the outside noise does. And I'm also curious as far as outside of week one, and even week one, you can look at a lot of positives, especially from Jayden's performance. They've been on a pretty good track, an easy track. Things have been going in their way. What does adversity look like? And as far as from an adversity standpoint, once again, this defense is, I think it's by far the best defense that we've come across. Tampa Bay might be similar in certain aspects from a stat standpoint, but they do not have the level of playmakers of this team.
No, they do not.
So if you get punched in your fucking mouth, what's the response to that? And I'm very curious to see what that looks like from a Washington team that everybody's harping on. Everybody's in love with them. What does that look like? And I'm look, it's gonna happen at some point. They're gonna have to face adversity. I'm just happens this week. I'm very curious what it's like going into a Baltimore game or anything with this. It's just there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, with the contrasting styles over here, this is actually the kind of game that can be won or lost in the first quarter for either team, depending on it. Just because it's not like, oh, okay, we can just get in a shootout or we can just grind it out. Like this is in terms of the styles, it's an intriguing matchup. So why don't we go ahead and go to the predictions over here? So K-Dot, as always, I'm going to need a score. I'm going to need a winner and player of the game. And here's your information that the Commanders are 3-point favorites at home and the over-under is 43.5. Take it away.
I don't think we'll have the same success we've had against other teams against this particular one offensively. That being said, I still think the Browns' offense is absolute fucking trash. Once again, our defense had one good game. I'm gonna go final score 28-21. Commanders win.
Okay, 28-21 Commanders win. And your player of the game?
Let's go Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin. All right, nice. That would be awesome. That would be awesome because also, again, this is at home. We did not score any touchdowns in our other home game against the New York Giants. 7 field goals and a win, which was awesome. And it ended up propelling us, as we could see. But it would be nice to get some touchdowns on the board. K-Dot, I think we win as well. I think it's 20-17. I think this is a close game. It's a push on the spread. I do think that we've been experiencing a whole lot of national media glazing and stuff like that. It's the 1 p.m. national game, depending on where you are on Fox.
Not in fucking Baltimore, which I gotta legally scream this bitch. You fucking assholes, man. Blackout rules is stupid as fuck. I gotta, like, my ass is out here trying to figure out the fucking antenna, trying to pick up a signal from PG County, and I can't do the shit.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Well,
20. Got a good website.
Come over. New York. Well, it's so 20-17 Commanders, and my player of the game is going to be Austin Ekeler. So to your point, when we talk about a guy that forces missed tackles, and he's going to be back, he's got like the concussion scare, but he got rested legs. At least that also happens at the same time. And we may not have Brian Robinson. So this may be a game where Austin Ekeler is able to excel and propel us to victory. I do expect this to come down to the wire. This may be a game-winning field goal from Austin Seibert. We'll see. So 20-17 Commanders. I've got the under, and K-Dot's got the over on just the score prediction. He's not saying bet it, just to be clear. But that's what we have so far. And now over to bet of the week.
Do you remember last night?
I remember last night. Of course I remember last night.
You sure?
Yeah, why would I
not? We discussed the bet already. Like, you know what it is now. I'm sorry. I guess it was A-Train made an appearance. I took video.
Oh, my God.
If you didn't
couldn't even see the bet.
If you couldn't catch the bet, I got it right here. So I am picking the Commanders. Look, I'm going off of DraftKings just because they had some of the props actually open for me. But I think the Commanders can win by 4. And I'm going Jayden Daniels 150 yards passing. Like, I get that there'll be a rushing attack, but I also think Jayden Daniels is learning a lot. He's getting to a certain point, and 150 yards is not that goddamn much to fucking get. So that's where I'm at with it. I just think this is one of those performances. Maybe it doesn't start out like on fire, but I've seen enough from Jayden Daniels at this particular point that even if he's not throwing for 400 yards in the fucking game, I think that he's somebody that's learning on the fly. He implements feedback almost immediately. And I think that this will be one of those performances we look back and be like, that was a fucking building block.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And again, on the Cleveland side of things, they do have a really good defense. They have played Dallas, who have a good offense. They played Jacksonville, who are in a complete disarray. They played the Vegas Raiders, and who else have they played? The Giants, right? So like they also haven't played an offense like us either. So we're gonna see what gives in this situation. It's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna.
No, I'm putting my money on that. That Baltimore game's gonna be the shit.
Oh my goodness! Could you imagine?
I might just be extremely disappointed by all of this, but we'll see.
We'll go ahead. Schmedium. We're keeping it a Schmedium. Why don't we go ahead and go to the comment mailbag as we always do? But before we begin, obviously we got to be introed by our very own Nikki.
Good job.
Comment mailbag time, motherfuckers. District divided, ain't got time for no suckers. Spread the word, get in line. OGs and new G's, it's your time. And spread the gospel, cause this shit is divine. Yeah.
Thank you, Nikki, as always, for the intro there. Greatly appreciate it. And Jess Santo, I apologize. Apparently, I've been informed from KDOT that we missed yet another comment of yours. I do the thing where I uncheck have not responded, and that's how I've been getting everything. This time, I have to go to the video and sort by newest in order to get it. KDOT has it. KDOT's going to read it.
Lies. Jess, he owes you another apology.
Jess, I love you. I am deeply sorry for missing yet another one. Jeez, very frustrating. Very frustrating. But anyway, KDOT's going to read this one.
I got my water, so let's do this.
Cool.
So this is from this is after we beat the Bengals, I think.
What a moment, by the way. Can we talk about that for a moment? Just what a moment that was. Beating the Bengals. That 3rd and 7 is iconic. Still the throw of the year so far. Anyway, please continue.
I still think I'm in shock about all of this, right? And it still doesn't feel like I'm processing any of it.
Yeah. No, we're on cloud 9 even just doing this podcast. It's been awesome.
I feel like I'm disassociated just a little bit. I may need to talk to my therapist. All right. So Jess Santo. My last post was actually a haiku. It was a tongue-in-cheek nod to KDOT's high praise from the previous episode. Amit, You can't die on the Panthers' hill, buddy. Let it go. You've literally just watched a dipshit owner. You literally just watched what a dipshit owner can do to a franchise. The Panthers are going to be a factory of sadness for a very long time. And may God have mercy on their poor fans. I can only imagine how our old dipshit owner is feeling right now. Take a pause. Make sure you're breathing that in.
I'm processing. Yeah, I got that.
Watching the new ownership and front office walk right in and draft the prototype quarterback in their first draft, we as fans need to realize what this means. We have a franchise quarterback now. Every game is now winnable. Free agency and the drafts are wide open, and no more of the hated quarterback controversies. No interceptions, no punts, rookie completion percentage records, quick release, easily completed third downs, excellent deep balls. This is the new norm. Enjoy it. Washington fans haven't had this since the early 80s. I don't know about the early 80s. We get to live like the Packers fans for once. Whoever was saying that we should trade Terry needs to jump off a cliff.
Agreed.
Jump off a fucking cliff. I'm going to add something. Yeah, really? Who's doing that shit? He shines every time his number is called. He's excellent as a team leader and representative on and off the field. You couldn't ask for a better role model on your team. The world is a better place when he's fired up on the sidelines. The bear hug with Quinn brought a tear to my eye. Out of all the national media attention on the game, Kyle Brandt had a great acknowledgement of Washington fan base's tribulations and our desire for optimism. The defense is still a hot fucking mess, but it's actually improving. It did improve. Burrow was desperate and almost in playoff mode during that game. He would have hung that many points on a lot of teams. My concern for the defense, the lack of pressure and the ability to stop the run. At least the secondary is in a frame of an offensive coach. I don't know what. At least the secondary is in the frame of an offensive catch. Under Rivera, DBs wouldn't be 5 yards near the catch. I think there's a lot of poor coaching being undone while a new philosophy is being installed.
Love it.
I think my side bitch Cardinals are going to be ready for a fight. Not ready enough.
Not ready enough.
Well, I'm not concerned about Daniels being injury prone. There are some dirty players in the Cardinals, and I'm worried about some cheap shots on him. The defense needs to contain Murray and Connor while doubling their rookie wide receiver. The offense needs to pound the rock and let Jayden do whatever the fuck he wants to. Share this shit.
Share this shit. Jess, that's a fantastic comment. Thoroughly appreciate that. I appreciate the advice as well. And so it must be noted that Jess, if I'm doing the math correctly, because this was a week ago, actually said that after the Panthers won a game, which means that they had finally won one. And I was like, all right, cool. Maybe it's going to be fixed. And then they end up in a random shootout with the Bengals and they lose. So now they're 1-3. And Jess, I'm going to take that into advisement and seriously consider jumping ship on the Panthers. But I don't know that K-Dot will allow me to do that. That's one. And two, I believe in Andy Dalton, baby. So we're going to go ahead and see.
Here you go.
What happens.
Let me ask you this. How many
we got time for after the pod this time.
All right, fair enough. I was going to ask you how many faith chips she got.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I've lost about 70 of them out of the 100 through the first 3-4 weeks to the house.
You see Bryce Young on the sideline? He seems much happier.
Bryce? Yeah, I think he needed the break. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
We go over to Earl Bruce. Just a couple comments because we dropped one yesterday. And I haven't sorted by newest on this one. So, Jess, if you dropped a comment,
he'll ignore you.
We'll fucking get to it on Monday. But here we go. Shout out Earl Bruce. Luvu, Frankie Luvu, hits harder than A-Train with an 8-ball was the comment over there. Shout out, Earl. That's
not entirely sure. I've seen A-Train smack a bitch.
Go to Coach Lombard.
Last night was one.
Okay, I wasn't there. In case people weren't.
Motherfucker had Quaaludes. You ever had a Quaalude? Does that hurt us as far as monetization?
No, we're fine. We're fine.
I just named it.
Coach, we got a Coach Lombard. Shout out, Coach. Is that a new intro? Yes, it is. It is a new intro, and K-Dot worked on it. I will give B-Rob some time to continue to prove me wrong. Okay, saw the film there. My biggest L was being lazy and prideful about Cliff. Initially, he was the most air-raid coach in the history of the NFL. And you know what, Coach? And there's a bit more here, just to be clear. It's okay. Because early on in the offseason, when we first hired Cliff, we were also talking about the air raid until he then had his intro presser and said, hey, not going to be that. And so then we were like, all right, well, cool. What's this going to be? Anthony Lynn comes in. Brian Johnson comes in. And it turns out that all this while they've been constructing a new offense. So far, so good. He continues. Cliff's 2nd and 5 offense. Watch Brett Coleman's Boss Hog video. I did. It was awesome. Is the least air raid offense in the history of the NFL. I am taking the official L on Cliff. That was Coach Lombard's comment. K. Your face. Explain.
I'll start with my last reaction. Brett Coleman did a video about us.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I know. There's a curse. Yeah. That was the comment. I even used the District Divided to comment saying we need to overcome the curse now.
I mean, I'm going to watch it. He does pretty good work.
It's a very good video.
Sorry, not Jess. Did Coach say their big? Did they say their biggest flaw was what?
No. There's no biggest flaw here. He's not talking about any sort of flaw. He was just saying that.
No. As far as self-reflection.
Coach was saying lazy and prideful about Cliff. Assuming air raid offense.
That's their biggest flaw, is that they were lazy.
That's their biggest. Correct. That's their biggest flaw. Yeah.
Got it. I want to make sure because that was not accurate. You're a Philadelphia Eagle fan. That's clearly your biggest flaw. Like, it's not close because it impacts so many other things. Your outlook on life, your hate of everything and all joy, your criticisms unnecessarily frivolous. Like, I don't think you understand that being a Philadelphia Eagles fan just leads to so many other things. It's like being alcoholic. Like, no one just has the alcoholism. There's other things that come with the alcoholism, right? Or you could be like A-Train and have a litany of issues with women, with substance abuses, with all sorts of stuff, would just impact everything. So it's like what is it? Like, that's what you got to recognize. You got to realize that. You got to realize that part of it. You got to get to the core, the root of the problem. All right, Coach? I care about you, Coach. I care about you, which means you probably need to get with that team.
Hey, come on over here. We're having a great time, Simon.
No.
It's fine.
Be a Ravens fan.
It's fine. We got a lot of. Well, okay. By the way, bandwagon's getting pretty full here. A lot of people texting me.
I'm starting to feel something about that too.
Yeah, we can talk about that too after the pod, and that's where we're going to head now because that was a common mailbag because we dropped an episode yesterday. This was District Divided, DC Sports Podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I'm Amit. That is K. And if you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, buy the Gibbs Bible, and K.
In nomine DC at K. at Ominous at Spiritus Burgundy Commander Non-Dividus. Share that shit, bitches. Share it.
Share this shit. We greatly appreciate you guys after the pod begins right now. Oh, I just love the share that shit, bitches. Oh, excellent.
Spaz out, you know.
So something we were going to talk about yesterday, was Philly against Dallas. Like who we're more afraid of. You remember that? Or who we're more nervous about when it comes to the division. Now it's early days. It's only been a quarter of the season, if that. So long way to go. But in terms of who I think the division winner is going to be, I think it's going to be Philly. And you think it's going to be Dallas? Is that right?
No, I think the Commanders have entered the conversation.
Well, sure. If it were not to be the Commanders, let's say. I still
have Dallas.
Still have Dallas. Okay, so explain your reasoning.
I think Philadelphia. Look, I think Dallas is fucking things up. I think there's some play calling issues. There's some scheme issues that's happening with Dallas that I think they can remedy. Philadelphia, the vibes are just shit. The vibes are bad. Like every week they're talking about Nick Sirianni potentially being fucking fired. I just don't like anything I'm seeing out of Philadelphia. They are, once again, there's no disputing this, the most talented team in the division. Period. But they were the most talented team in the division last year. Like they're the most talented. They've been the most talented team. They're not getting enough production out of what it is they have. I just don't like what I'm seeing. And I get that they have injured guys that are going to come back, right? AJ Brown, like that's going to help out things. But I still think the vibes themselves, and as far as them putting together week in and week out performances, you're like, okay, that's that Eagles team that everybody's fucking afraid of. I just don't see it. And that defense, I don't see how that defense is going to get better.
No, that's fair. And that would be my major concern in terms of my pick of the Eagles winning the division. And that's what I picked before the season, the Eagles to win the division.
Mhm.
When they get their offensive guys back, I think it is so explosive that they'll end up being okay. And I think Saquon will protect them from Jalen's turnovers. Because right now, Jalen's not playing well. Jalen Hurts is not playing well. Now, you could put some of that on his weapons aren't there. But week 1 against Green Bay, his weapons were there. And Green Bay just had an inability to finish because Jalen had a couple horrible throws in that game. Really bad throws. Go ahead.
Preseason, I had Philadelphia winning because of the divisional curse, whatever. Nobody repeats or anything. I don't like the Philadelphia vibes, bro.
Yeah, but the thing, okay, so now let's talk about Dallas because their next few games are very difficult. DeMarcus Lawrence will not be playing. We'll see about Micah Parsons. They're at Pittsburgh? Is that right? They're at Pittsburgh.
I can take a look.
Then they host Detroit. If there's one thing we know about Dallas, I know they did a great job against the New York Giants when they knew they needed to stack the box.
There's nothing easy about what Pittsburgh, Detroit, bye week, San
Francisco.
Yeah. Well, that's tough.
So, I mean, we're looking at, I think at best 3 and 4. That's and God help them if they're 2 and 5. Right? And let's see what their vibes look like at 2 and 5. Right? So I'm looking at the next 3 games going, I could see their season being over in those 3 games.
Look, man, part of me is always rooting for Dallas to do at least pretty decent in the regular season so that the goal comes crashing and burning. Plus, it makes it
is a fun spectacle.
So much fun. I also think that there's I know it might be a little crazy. I do think that there's a little bit of a Devontae Adams piece of this.
Okay.
If I'm looking across the landscape of like the NFC and I keep hearing about this NFC team that might be involved in this thing.
You think it's Jerry?
I think it might be Jerry. You saw him show up to the. You see him show up to the fuck and break out in the middle of practice. Just show up in a fucking helicopter because he's a fucking douchebag. It's just a giant douche. Can't
really is.
Not to mention, I still need to figure out what the fuck he was on that fucking video talking about as far as penis sizes. I had not heard a good explanation yet.
I had heard something about it, but I didn't actually follow the whole thing. What exactly happened there?
So was it Jamie Foxx or Kevin Hart? One or the other. I don't know. That sounds kind of racist, but I'm black, so fuck you. One of them were there with a camera, and they overheard Jerry going over like over a bunch of numbers and measurements.
Yeah,
I mean, very much so. But he was going on, and he gets like an 8.5-inch dick. It was like, and then the camera cuts because whoever's recording realized they heard something. So it's just like, what? Why are you talking about it? Number one, how do you know those numbers? Like, is that look?
Or Jerry was like describing himself. He's like, listen.
I got weird vibes when it comes to the NFL Combine anyway. I don't like it. I don't like the visuals. I don't like the way it looks. I'm not for it at all. Like, if you need more clues about that, go watch Django Unchained. You'll start realizing some things feel similar. The idea that Jerry's in there, while you got dudes like, because I was watching what Brian Dable when he was quizzing the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And love Jayden's response to what would you do if you face adversity. But the idea is that Jerry's in this saying, so what's your dick like?
Meanwhile, in the Dallas room. Yeah.
but if I'm being completely honest, I just want to understand what's happening. Because you ever seen Moneyball?
Oh yeah. Love Moneyball. I would love
Moneyball. To me, because it's
yeah, but it's Moneyball.
Movies, dog. Nah, don't do that.
I can't even do it for Moneyball. It's an analytics movie.
You don't get you ever see the program?
No, I haven't seen it. Okay, fine. Point taken.
I don't want to hear this shit. All right.
Point taken. I've never even heard of it.
Thank you. I don't want to hear this shit. So you seen Rudy though, probably, right?
No. I've heard great things though.
No, fuck Notre Dame.
Okay, never mind.
It's worth watching if you're a sports movie fan.
Okay.
But in Moneyball, you remember when Brad Pitt, Billy Bean, is there in the room, and he's getting sick and tired of the old farts and the scouts and shit telling him stuff.
Yes.
And one of them talks about his girlfriend's not that attractive.
That's right. And they use that metric.
So as far as like Jerry, if Jerry's like, you know what, I think big dick energy is something I gotta make sure that I'm keeping track of. Like I don't think that's far removed from Jerry Jones. I honestly don't. I'm just wondering, is that something actually
they do draft pretty well? I mean, maybe there's something to it if that's what's happening.
I don't know.
The draft's not been the problem.
I can't have a quarterback with a cock less than 5 inches. You can't do it. You cut or uncut, Zeke.
You think that's why the negotiations were held up with Dak? They're like, you gotta show us.
Dude,
we're not doing it until.
Look, the more I watch Raw Room, that podcast that I keep talking about,
yes,
the more I'm starting to realize how much I don't fucking know about what happens in the league. The more I'm realizing none of us fucking know about what the fuck happens in the league.
All right, you have an example?
Well, I didn't know the Madden checks were a thing. I knew that Madden paid the NFL Players Association for the likeness of the names, and maybe they got put into a pot. What I didn't know is that once a year, they literally hand out the players Madden checks. And like all the players run to the casino with their Madden check to blow immediately. Didn't know that.
Huh.
No idea. Just didn't know something.
There was a Madden check. It makes sense that there would be, I suppose. But yeah, okay.
Or hearing that there was a second round draft pick for the Tennessee Titans. Forget his name right now. But optional. They have like the voluntary OTAs and stuff.
Yeah.
So he didn't show up for voluntary OTAs. Vrabel in Tennessee, and he shows up for the first day of training camp. He's the only one that did not show up for voluntary OTAs. Oh. And he walks in the room and he sits down in the front row. And Vrabel looks at him and says, "That chair is for players only." The guy looks up and said, "What?" "That chair is for players only. Get the fuck up." And he stands up, goes to try to sit in that. "No, all these chairs are for players only." He fucking fired him, cut him right down the spot. Never played another down in the NFL.
Get out. He didn't even.
It's like, dude, when I'm hearing the shit that I'm hearing, or when the dudes are talking about like blocking offensive linemen or trying to get past offensive linemen, and they're the nastiest, sweatiest, smelliest sons of bitches.
Oh my gosh.
You're like, dude, and that's where you hear like Mark Schler talk about like he would, because you want to make yourself disgusting so they don't want to touch you.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, man, can't stand those motherfuckers. They can barely breathe out there. They're so nasty, and they're spitting everywhere. You know? It's like hearing from a player perspective on the shit was just hilarious to me. I love the insight.
Okay. Raw Room. Yeah, no, because that was and I've shared that Bryce Young clip with so many people now.
Oh, yeah.
That more than anything is a reason to jump ship. That was alarming.
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's
not good. But I am happy that Bryce is getting a break right now, because I think you and I talked about it. It was like, hey, this guy isn't seeing the field right. Like, I think he needs a break. I don't think he's a bad player.
Right.
I think he just needs a break. And it looks like he's doing him some good. He does genuinely look happy right now getting this break. He can play. I stand firm that he can play. Just needs time.
That video you sent me at Rogers.
Yeah.
On Pat McAfee, because I don't fucking watch Pat McAfee. I don't really watch.
Neither do I, actually. I haven't watched it in ages.
And I tried to stay away from all national media this week when it came to Commander stuff. I just tried to stay.
It was a lot.
I know. Every time I pull up YouTube and the algorithm's like, I know you want Commanders content. Here. I'm like, skip. But hearing Aaron Rodgers talk about quarterback development, and I'm like, that's it. That's the thing. That's what. Why the fuck? Like, what? It's this thing I've been screaming about since I've been screaming about this shit since middle school, as far as quarterback development, and the way I thought that because the thing that got to me, the thing that still gets to me, and I find it on like a personal level, is the bus label. I fucking hate that shit. I hate the bus label. I hate guys that get the bus label. I'm like, it's not their fault. I hate that shit. I hate it more than anything. And then like over the years, you start getting these dudes get drafted. You're like, and I've seen, especially with Washington, how many times they fucked up dudes' careers because they mismanaged what it is they're doing. And you're like, you see it firsthand. You're like, what the fuck? I love Patrick Graham. I still think that motherfucker could have played in the NFL.
Oh, we all love Patrick Graham. I love him too. Yeah.
The one who probably got the fairest shot as far as actual play was Jason Campbell. But they also had some time with Jason Campbell. The play between play calling and the offensive line, they weren't doing him any favors. I hate it with the local media and fans used to shit on Campbell. And I was like, all right, this is not fair. But I thought he got a fair shake at it. Yeah. Dwayne Haskins got fucked from the get-go. And look, he didn't do himself any favors, but I think that's something you take into consideration when you draft a dude.
That was the hometown kid stuff we've talked about in the past. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah. And that's why, like, rest in peace, Dwayne, because I really want to see him in Pittsburgh, because I thought, him in Pittsburgh with Tomlin.
I think that was the plan, right? Was like, Ben is going to retire. We got Dwayne. We got a first-round talent. who gets to sit behind him, is in this organization centered around discipline and around doing things the right way, we can get something out of him.
He wasn't a fucking weirdo like AB. So like it's just so it's like when I see that shit, I'm just like, dude. And then you're seeing it this year, which I'm loving. The Sam Darnold stuff, I feel vindicated. Fucking vindicated.
Oh, even Baker leaving Cleveland as soon as things got sort of toxic. Now he looks great. Justin Fields right now looks good in Pittsburgh. It could be done. Man,
the thing I think it's more in basketball, especially my basketball conversation is about football, and I think we had a comment way back about this, which is like my thing with this has always been, I think that what gets underrated in professional sports is the psychology behind it all. Like I really do think that people don't give enough credence to it, about situations, about learning styles, about teaching styles, about all these sort of things that you have to kind of figure out and you got to know. So it's like and this is what I love about what Dan Quinn and all these guys are doing this year. You can see, which is why I'm loving that every time I see anything about Devontae Adams, the less I'm seeing about the Commanders being involved, and being completely honest.
Thank goodness.
But it's what is this year more than any other thing for the Commanders? It's building the right culture. We will sacrifice talent for culture right now because we got to build that first. And the best organizations know that long term, that's what you want to do. You want to get everybody in the right mind frame and right headspace. And you get people that maybe they want to be fucking weirdos, whatever, but they can find it, do that within the confines of what it is we're doing in the building. And if you can't do that, you're not going to be here. That is something that you got to find, right? And I love that shit. Yeah, I just think that we don't do enough of the psychology piece on it, or think about what these guys are thinking from a human standpoint.
Actually, so Kate, and I'll just be totally honest here. I was looking back at old videos of ours leading up to the draft because I wanted to see if what I was saying about Jayden is exactly what's lining up right now.
Yeah,
and so I was curious about that, and we also went through. This was on an after the pod, I want to say, where you talked about wanting the structure in place and then making the move for the quarterback. And I was saying, hey, if you can get the elite quarterback, sit him for a year and build the structure for that 1 year, then you get 2 draft classes worth of introduction and settlement, and then allow your quarterback to come in.
Yeah.
We're only 4 weeks in right now. And I don't think that this necessarily even goes away from what you're talking about. But Jayden has fit in so well to the culture. In fact, I would even say he's setting it. He's helping set it.
There you go. That's
right.
The piece.
That's the piece. That's the piece that I wanted to ask you about. So, like in this situation, we took a quarterback in the top 3, 2 overall, but he helps set the culture in addition to being as talented as he is.
We go to that word that I love, and the word that you actually got to play bingo with the Aaron Rodgers thing, anomalies. So like the thing
that felt great. Anyway, go ahead.
The thing that you even hear Dan Quinn talk about, and I love his honesty about it, is they were surprised by Jayden and his confidence and the way he carries himself.
Yeah.
Like they knew that they loved him from a skill standpoint. They loved his play. I still stand firm. I don't think the Topgolf thing probably went too great, but I do think that they had him so far up above everybody else on their board that when they came down to it, they're like, all right, we're going to do this. And then once he got in the building and they got to know him and they got to interact with him more and they saw his interaction with the guys around him, it's like, dude, he's like defining what it means to be a Commander's damn self. Like we're incorporating him into what it is we're doing.
Actually, you know what? About the Topgolf thing, because there was also, I think, Ian Rappaport, this was at the draft, just before, you know how like just before a draft pick is made, they tip it and then they give you a story. And it's a story no one's ever fucking heard. And you're like, why couldn't you have just said that? Right? Like, why did we need to wait so long? It's probably just gambling industry. Like, hey, don't say anything. But what happened?
The statute of limitations pass.
Yeah, probably. Because one of the things that was mentioned was that Jayden met with Josh Harris before they didn't say before or after Topgolf. I would assume before, because Dan Quinn picked up Jayden. Right. Josh could have been in that car and they could have been discussing and stuff like that. I think Topgolf honestly went fine. And then what happened was, I'm sure Jayden told his agent, hey, Josh told me that I'm probably the pick. And then the agent probably liked the tweet where it was like, well, then why the fuck are we doing this? If he's probably the pick, then why on earth are we even going through this?
I don't agree
could
with
see
that part at
I
all.
could see that. So I think Topgolf maybe just went fine.
I don't agree. I don't disagree with most of that. I'm saying that and even when you tell that story, to me, it's been more about what Dan Quinn has said.
Sure.
In the last few weeks, or last month or so, when they talked to him about Jayden and him emoting that he's been kind of blown away by what it is Jayden did. So even looking at that story, I think that you have maybe even a situation where Adam Peters was on board. I think they both knew. I think the thing that I got wrong was I thought it was close. I think what they had was Jayden so far above everybody else.
Including
I think Adam,
Caleb.
right. I think Adam was sold on it first. I think Dan Quinn and Topgolf was to get him to buy in. And I think what he saw after, and I think what probably he saw after Topgolf was like, look, the chasm between Jayden and everybody else is so fucking big. We're gonna do this anyway. Because like I look at Dan Quinn and I'm looking at like the type of dude that type of guy that he is. Yeah. I wouldn't describe Jayden Daniels as that type of guy. But I would say that But I would absolutely say it's the same thing that I told you that I got bought in was when I first started. Like I hear the interviews and everything. I'm like, he seems like a good kid. Like, great. Yeah. But is he a leader of men? I don't know. Right. He might be that quiet stoic, like I lead by example sort of dude. But those are rare. And like, once again, I care about the psychology of shit, right?
Right.
So it's like, okay. Then you get in and he like, I'm starting to see like even old videos and stuff that kind of pop up from Jayden about like, they were asking him back in high school. I'd never seen this until like.
Oh, the laugh and smile thing? Yeah,
right.
Go ahead.
I laugh and smile and that makes him more angry. And I'm like, that's just who he is. I don't think, I would not describe that as a Dan Quinn guy. What I would say is you have an Adam Peters being like, yo, different ways to skin a cat. I think this guy's it. Dan Quinn being like, you know what? I think I need to get on board with it too. And them,
I think it's the other way. I think it's the other way. I think Dan wanted him first because one of the overwhelming narrative, at least to me, that I bought into is defensive-minded guy gets to see quarterback, sees dual threat with an ability to throw really well. We talked about the ball placement for months.
Whoa, don't get me wrong. I'm saying from a physical tool standpoint, I do think they were both lockstep that he was number one. I don't think that goes. Okay. I'm saying the play like a commander piece.
I see.
Probably took longer for Dan than it did for Adam.
I can buy that. I can buy that. Okay.
And where I got wrong was that I thought that the intangibles for some of the other guys were so much better that it could be. Look, I would never tell you. I never did tell you that J.J. McCarthy could do anything that Jayden Daniels.
No. You never did. You never did.
Right.
But Pelissero, go ahead.
But I'm just Jayden's way of doing this. He has the quiet confidence of like, you know, he has the confidence almost like CJ Stroud. He's kind of quiet in that way. But CJ feels more serious than Jayden. And Jayden
more serious than
he is.
Yeah.
Look, if somebody were to describe me Jayden's personality, if I was trying to craft a quarterback, I don't think I'd pick it. I still don't think I'd pick it. But what I'm seeing right now, the reason I wouldn't pick it is I don't have anything to compare it to. I don't have anybody that really reminds me of Jayden's personality in the league.
Dude, no, it's actually a devilishly dangerous personality for an opponent, and it's excellent for us because you'll remember in that Tampa game, we're losing, but he keeps smiling. That like even as fans, we're like, man, we like this guy. You can even see, on the sidelines, they're like, man, this dude, like nothing phases him. So all of a sudden, there's this positive energy that he's consistently putting out, no matter how the game's going.
Yes,
that will keep you in games that maybe you shouldn't even be in sometimes. No doubt. Just his personality alone is helping.
No, like, I'm all in.
It's incredible.
I'm all in.
Yeah, it's
just fantastic. In a vacuum without me seeing what it is I'm seeing right now. You could never describe Jayden Daniels to me and I'd be like, hey, yeah, that's the guy I want leading my fucking franchise. It just doesn't describe that way. The same way that you, like a lot of people, including yourself, had your thoughts about Caleb. And like, that's not a leadership style I want. You know what I mean? So it's like
no, it's true.
So it's
I still feel that way, but
I get it. But there's but when I see like a JJ, I'm like, that's my guy.
Sure.
So like, I get it from a personality standpoint. I see a Lamar Jackson. I'm like, that's my guy. That's a fucking confidence level of which like, he's just unflappable. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I love that shit. Like that cavalier, I don't fucking care type shit. I'm just going to ball out. I love that. Jayden fits in this territory that don't remind me of anybody, which is good.
No, it's amazing. He's a total unicorn. And we got him. Like, that's so cool.
He's a fucking unicorn.
Yeah.
Like, really think back. Does anybody you remember in the NFL especially quarterback. I'm going to say specifically quarterback. Remind you personality-wise of Jayden Daniels.
Honestly, in terms of the smiling and stuff, I think a Cam Newton does. But
Cam was so much more charismatic.
He was, man. And
Cam
I mean, even his college career, like none of those guys went pro.
Cam commands the room when you walk into the room. Everybody notices Cam when he walks in the room. Not to mention, if you ever seen him,
that's also, I think, just sort of the size of Cam.
If you have seen him, but then when he shows up with the fashion sense, and then that was one of the problems with New England. Remember, they wanted Cam on the team, but they couldn't because I don't give a fuck who your quarterback is. Cam runs the team.
And that wasn't the Patriot way in terms of like how they did things.
Their problem was that it bothered Mac Jones enough that they were like, you know what, fuck it. We got to give Mac. We're not starting Cam. That's the reason. It bothered Mac Jones enough that they said, fuck it. Cam's not our starter anyway. We got to do what's right or what's best to develop Mac. Because it was bothering Mac. Because Cam runs and Cam's talked about that too. Cam's a different breed. Almost sort of a unicorn itself.
I was just thinking but you're right. You're right. I would say Cam was different that way. Cam was truly special. And I still don't think he gets the flowers that he deserves. I thought he was.
I love his podcast. I love what he's doing with his podcast.
He got a great podcast as well. No, that's true.
I remember the moment that changed it. The moment that got me completely on board with Jayden was when we did that episode where I went back and I looked at the simulation stuff.
The VR stuff, right?
The VR stuff. So. And looking back at all the videos that they had at LSU, and what got me was that motherfucker was giddy.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I love football.
Yeah.
I love this shit. I just love playing this game. That to me was like, because remember I said, as soon as they made the draft, I'm on board. This is where we're going, right? But the moment I saw that simulation, I was like, I might have been wrong as far as the personality thing. This is not what I've ever expected.
He's a killer, man. That's the other thing. You see the laughing, you see the smiling. But that guy is fucking serious about what he does. And you can tell from all the stories and stuff like that. Like he is.
So I think it's just one of those, like if somebody were to ask me to describe my perfect quarterback, I wouldn't even begin to think that I could describe a Jayden Daniels.
No, that's fair. I do want to quickly mention, because I have, the whole leadership thing with Caleb in the past. Mm-hmm. Like I did say that it was a bit of a quirky, like he would have fitted at Carleton, which is my alma mater where I went. But like there was something off. And I want to say that through 4 weeks, actually he's impressed me from the leadership standpoint. So I want to also say, hey, he has exceeded my expectations in that regard. I think he's handled this whole situation very, very well so far. And so we'll see how he continues to develop too. And it's nice to have the quarterback where it's like, oh, it's unfair. You can't compare him to him. And like Chicago's like hating on Jayden Daniels because he's doing so well. But at the same time, like I think Caleb, for a rookie, is doing well. Like I think he's doing fine. He's gotten better with every game. And from a leadership standpoint, he has impressed me with his patience, because he struck me as very impatient. And if things don't go his way, he could turn into a negative very, very, very quickly. That was my worry. And he seems to be doing better with that than I think.
Thought. No, I still think he has that. I think
he does too. It's just been 4 games, so it could still happen. But now, I think he's doing well.
I think he's going to acknowledge. But that's the thing is, like, I think he can even acknowledge, because the one thing with Caleb I do appreciate is his honesty. Mm-hmm. He's brutally honest. To the point where sometimes you're like, hey, there's a better answer to give than the one you gave. Like, just chill. I think he understands and realizes we're in week fucking 5 of an NFL season, and that it takes time. And that I also think he probably understands and knows most of these coaches that are coaching him right now are probably not going to be back next year with him. Like, I think he probably knows that. I would even go as far as to say management has already probably talked to him about that. So like, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they had already talked to him about that. But it's the same thing I said prior to draft. I feel bad for anyone that has to be a Chicago Bear coming out of this season. Like, I think that it starts you out at a detriment. And it goes back to my...
Tory Taylor. You look great. Shout out the punter.
But what Aaron Rodgers was talking about is that even if I look at a Caleb Williams and he flames out and he doesn't do good in Chicago, I will forever still think Chicago fucked that up. I still will always think that. It's the same thing I'm thinking about Carolina, and I'm fucking that up. Because you think about Carolina and you look at like the Bryce Young thing, and it's like, well, motherfucker, Andy Dalton could have been there starting for you,
sure,
and him on a bench for a year.
But unless you have such overwhelming talent that it can overcome that. Because there also are some of those people.
The anomalies.
And we once again got one and a good organization right now, which is great.
That's that thing. Is it like I try to just, when that's all about building a franchise or what it is I want to stack the deck as far in our favor as possible for what I think is the most tried and true and trusted route to go. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Jayden working out the clip that he's working out on right now is, to me, a reinforcement of, number one, every decision they made this offseason as far as who they brought in the building, front office wise and coaching wise, was the right fucking one.
Mm-hmm.
Top of the line, Adam Peters, as good as Bill.
He's been fantastic. Early returns on Adam Peters. Oh my goodness, worth every penny so far.
There's a reason that there was the reaction from front offices and people around the league was like, "Yo, you got one."
Mm-hmm.
Early returns, fucking amazing. Feel great about it. Dan Quinn and what he's bringing to it. Early returns, feel fucking amazing. Jayden being the guy that he is, and coming as prepared as he is, and doing the work that he does. That was the wild card that has put us on a trajectory and a path in which, I mean, you forever be grateful for him for speeding up our process.
Yeah,
as far as where it is we are.
You got people trading for Devontae Adams because we can win a Super Bowl right now.
And that's the thing, is like, I don't give a fuck. We could lose every last game the rest of this fucking season. I've seen enough from the culture, and I've seen enough from those 4 wins, or from those 4 games, to let me know long term we got it.
We're good. I think that's a perfect note to honestly end it on here, K-Dot. This was the show, guys. This was awesome. Thanks again for listening. We will see you guys post game, hopefully with some shades on, but we'll see. A long way to go before that happens. Sunday 1 p.m. is the game. So until then, we'll see you after. Take it
Fix
easy.
the fucking blackout rules, you stupid cocksucking motherfucking sons of bitches. What is this? Stay in the studio until the outro video finishes playing or the broadcast may not. Oh, yeah, motherfucker, you gotta hit 2 fucking. Man, fuck this and fuck the blackout rule. Fuck everybody.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.